What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, my viewers challenged me to use their teams in the Go Battle League. This was a very chaotic day. A lot of interesting Pokemon, a lot of terrible Pokemon, but a lot of fun to be had. If you want to see these battles live or participate in these challenges yourself, make sure to check me out at twitch.tv/ItsAXN. I stream almost every single day. I'd love to see you there. But without further ado, let's get into the battles and see what we're going to get. Alright, game number one. What do we have for us here? We're going to have the Wobbuffet in the lead up against the Superior. This matchup, honestly, is not as good as you might want it to be, but my backline does not want to see the Superior in the slightest. We have a Golurk. That is one of the worst matchups for Golurk to see here, so we just want to kind of soft lose this matchup, maybe farm them down with Granbull, and maybe we'll still be in a good spot as long as we can neutralize the Superior before it gets into our backline. Return is a hard-hitting move, but the thing is, we build up energy so slowly, the Superior can outpace us probably to 3 moves before we can even get a second one right now. We do survive 2 Frenzy Plants because Wobbuffet is stupidly bulky, but it's not going to be bulky enough to survive the 3rd charge with Frenzy Plant number 2, getting us down to the red health now after the Vine Whips, and now they do throw energy before the next Mirror Coat is going to be reached. This is fine though. At this point, we might be able to charm this all the way down before Frenzy Plant will be reached on our Granbull, our opponent opting to swap out into a Dunsparce, and now I'm in a bit of an awkward position. I could swap into my Golurk right now, but if I did that, I'd be in the same position as if I would just stay in my Granbull, try to charm him down here, and now I just have to hope that somehow I can take down that Superior and that our Golurk in the backline is going to be a good Pokemon for us to have. I'm going to CMP this Crunch right now. If they shield this up, I can probably just no-shield this, farm them all the way down with our Golurk, having an energy lead for that Superior, and as long as the final Pokemon is weak to our Shadow Golurk, there might still be some play for us right now. Drillrun ends up knocking out our Granbull, but we can come in with our Shadow Golurk, Mud Slap this all the way down. We have 3 slaps of energy. What does our opponent want to do right now? They can bring in Superior, force us to throw energy, or they can show the final Pokemon here, but I don't think our opponent realizes they don't even reach 2 Aqua Tails before we can slap them all the way down right now. This means I'll have 2 Shadow Punches ready to go against that Superior when it comes back in, and we'll be able to take game number 1 with this absolutely crazy team. Alright, next game. What are we going to see? A Morpeko in the lead up against a Jumpluff. Very, very neutral lead matchup here. Obviously, if they land an Energy Ball, it is going to do a lot of damage, especially after the Fairy Winds are going to add up quite a bit here. Or Wheel is going to come through this move. It is going to do massive damage. It'll raise my attack as well. So it's going to depend on how they want to play this out to see if we're going to be able to have much play. They do end up no-shielding and throwing an Energy Ball here. I'm thinking they might bait us. It's a pretty tempting bait for our opponent to do right now. I'm going to no-shield, but an Energy Ball ends up knocking us out before we can even reach a Psychic Fangs here. I can come in with our Clefable, try our best to win the backline matchup, but this is not looking great. They come in with a Miltank, but I don't have counter or Dynamic Punch on this Medicham. I am resisting these rollouts, but I'm using Psycho Cut and Psychic for some reason. I don't know why, but that's what we were told to do, so that's what I'm using right now. In comes our charge move. I'm going to at least bait them. Maybe we have a Dynamic Punch and go for the Ice Punch. Maybe this works out. I don't know. No, they end up no-shielding it here. Medicham able to have another Thunderbolt, but this is not looking amazing. I know at this point that our Clefable is going to have a lot of work to do in the backline. Thunderbolt ends up putting us very low into range. We're probably a Body Slam could knock us out, but I'm going to go for the Psychic here, try our best to whittle down this Miltank, and see what we can do. At this point, I might even be able to get to another Psychic here before they can knock us out, which might be able to put them into range where we can farm them down, or an Ice Punch rather. Ice Punch able to chip them into easy Fairy Wind farm down range. They do throw yet another charge move here, but they're in Fairy Wind down range for our final Pokemon. Our Clefable, as long as it's not a terrible matchup, might still have some play this game, and look at that, some more Morpeko of their own. This is looking alright for us right now. All I have to do is land a Swift, Fairy Wind this all the way down, and then land charge moves against that Jumpluff. Our opponent opting to shield up Morpeko here. That's exactly what I want to see. I love it when they shield these lower energy moves. I'm going to have to no-shield a bait, I think, if I want any chance here. Luckily for us, a Psychic Fangs ends up getting called properly, and now I don't think a Swift can quite knock him out here, but if I do land it, it's going to be an easy Fairy Wind down to the point where I can throw charge moves against that Jumpluff later on. With that said, they do potentially also have some energy on that Jumpluff, and I'm going to be incredibly debuffed here to the point where an Aerial Ace will be enough to knock us out. Our opponent might even have a Catch Wind condition as well, because they still have that Miltank in the backline that they were able to swap out of. I'm going to make sure that we throw the Swift here. I don't think Swift would be quite enough, but at this point, if I can get a shield, then my Meteor Mash should be enough to take out this Jumpluff and win us this game. That was a CMP, but I know that they're not quite at the next move yet. I can be patient here. I can make sure that they don't end up catching the move. What is going to happen? I see the Fairy Wind come through. Meteor Mash is going to knock out this Pokemon, and as long as that Miltank does not have a Body Slam, we should be able to Fairy Wind it down and get a full-on Clefable sweep in the back. Let's go. GG's to them. Next matchup, Shadow Gligar, a blast from the past here, up against Galarian Corsola. What you're about to see is the epitome of power creep right now. Corsola is one of the best new Pokemon. Gligar is one of the best old Pokemon that has now been nerfed. It is honestly going to be such a terrible matchup, but I can't really swap out of this because I don't really have a great answer to the back. I do have my Shadow Cacturne that actually is a great answer, but I have a Shadow Granbull as well that really doesn't want to be down energy against this, so I have to stay in here, see what I can do in the Zero Shield matchup. Nightshade coming through, doing so much damage. If the energy nerf didn't happen to dig, I think I might have actually won that Zero Shield matchup here and gotten to a dig. Unfortunately, they end up catching on a Dugong, but they also shield the Aerialise, so that's kind of interesting. I guess I'll take that. I do have 2 Pokemon in the back that can deal with this, but honestly, this is not looking great. I feel like in the back is going to be another answer to Dark-type Pokemon, potentially a Charmer, so I'm going to bring in Shadow Cacturne here, see what we can do, ramping up with these Sucker Punches and potentially Trailblaze them, maybe knock them out. We'll see what they want to do right now. We're doing so much damage, but they're doing even more damage to us with the super effective Ice-type moves. Trailblaze ends up drawing a shield here, and now Shadow Granville is going to come in and try its best to close out this game. Our opponent opting to throw a charge move here. Icy Wind is going to lower our attack stat, make us do a lot less damage with our Shadow Charms. In comes that Corsola once again. This is going to be a Nightshade. It's going to do so much damage, but not quite knock us out just yet. I can get one more charm here, maybe even a couple more if they want to let us. They don't want to give us a ton of farm on our Cacturne. That's a smart play. With that said, I might be able to, at the very least, see the third Pokemon. Can I? I do knock out the Dugong with this Trailblaze. That's good news, but I think it's going to be a Wigglytuff in the backline. I've seen this team before, and this team has no play into this specific lineup. GG's to our opponent. That was a terrible matchup. Up against World Champion Yakai, using viewers' teams here. Can I have any chance? Well, looks like we have a good lead. What's going to happen here? I end up staying in. They end up swapping out instantly, safe swapping a Wigglytuff. The world champ, the current world champ, is ending up safe swapping a Wigglytuff. That is a crazy play, but it's working out for him right now. I don't have a hard answer. I only have my Drapion here, which can neutralize this. We are ABA weak to Charm with this team, so it's a good thing that we have it here as long as there's not a second Charmer, but we'll just have to see what's in the back. I end up expending a shield here before my opponent does, because I know at this point I need this thing gone. I can't take this out with my Greninja or even with my Gallade. I need to make sure that I can get this thing out of the way as soon as possible. Since it was a Talonflame in the lead, I also know that our Aqua Tails here should be able to either knock them out, well, not quite knock them out, but put them into range, or I can fast move them down, or do just a lot of damage where we get a shield. We'll just see what they want to do here. They do opt to shield or let that go, and then probably have to shield this move, knowing that a Hydro Cannon would knock them out. A Night Slash at this range would also be enough here. And there is another charge move. I know I survived this attack, but it's going to be very close. If it's a Brave Bird, it doesn't survive, but a Fly, we should be able to survive and then keep catch potential for the backline. And we have, in the final matchup of the game, a Gallade up against the Annihilate. Obviously, we're a Psychic type, they're a Ghost type. He ends up letting that move through. Even if he would have shielded it, though, I'm pretty sure we could fast move farm down the Talonflame at this point. We have a Shadow Glade, we have a Greninja, and that Talonflame is stuck with a 5-turn move. Even if they do farm down a Glade here, they would need to have a perfect amount of energy to reach a charge move against Greninja, and unfortunately, for Yakai, not quite enough. GG's to him. Next game, a Bastiadon in the lead up against our Shadow Granville. This is not looking great right now, but I can safe swap my Berserker, hopefully have some play in the backline. Our opponent ends up having a Shadow Kanto Marowak, but honestly, it's kind of a good thing to bait this out. I know that Berserker has access to Trailblaze. It's going to boost up its attack stat, do super effective damage, or even get a shield on that first one. And we even reach a second charge move here, which is fantastic. The thing is, I don't have a great Bastiodon answer, right? I have my Berserker, which is my best answer, but I have a Granville who's weak to Steel-type Pokemon. I have an Auroras who's weak to Steel and Rock-type Pokemon, so I'm just kind of bluffing right now that this is not a good answer for that Bastiodon, that they would want to bring it back in here. If that is the case, if they do bring it back in, I should have a lot of play, but if they bring in something else, we're in a bit of a tricky spot. Opponent actually opting to hard swap, though, coming in with a Drifloon. I'm going to end up building a ton of energy, coming in with Auroras, and trying to overfarm as much as I can. I stored a close combat on my Granville right now, but they still have that Marowak, which could make things a little bit tricky in the backline. They end up going for a debuff here with an Icy Wind rather than going for a Shadow Ball. It looks like they want to just kind of slow us down, maybe farm us all the way down with the Bastiodon that they have in the backline. We'll have to see if that is what they want to do. They do bring in that Basti, and at this point, I see a potential way to win this game. I have gotten rid of that Marowak, at least most of its health is gone. I have a close combat. I need to chip this into range, where close combat on Shadow Granville should be enough to knock out. We store the Weather Ball, we go for the close combat, and now at this point, because of that Weather Ball we have in the backline, no matter what happens here, as long as this gets knocked out, Marowak is not going to be able to win this game. We're able to somehow pull it back from the Bastiodon lead. GG's to our opponent. That was a crazy matchup there. Next game, this is not looking great, though. We have yet another bad lead. Wigglytuff up against our Shadow Feraligatr. This matchup is so bad. And if you can see my backline, I have triple Shadows, and about like the 3 squishiest Pokemon you could imagine. Feraligatr, Gardevoir, and of course Shadow Mewtwo in the backline, taking the cake for one of the squishiest Pokemon in the entire game. At this point, I'm going to shield this up, try to get a shield back from my opponent right now. I know Wigglytuff is going to be very hard to take down if I can't knock them out here. Hydro Cannon will get a knockout if it goes unshielded, but I do kind of want to shield back. No, they end up letting it go. Shield advantage is honestly going to be a very annoying thing to play from behind on right now. Our opponent, though, opting to swap into a Shadow Drapion, and they give us a full Charm Sneak here, throwing on slightly suboptimal timing. timing, I should be able to just shield once, farm all the way down, but I have a useless Pokemon in the back. Mewtwo is not going to do anything down shields right now, which means that there's no way I can win this game unless somehow we can get shields down. Triple Axel going to end up getting the first shield, which is a good thing, but I don't know where I'm going to get another shield this game. At this point, we get rollouted all the way down, and we don't have any fast food pressure, even though it's a Shadow Mewtwo. These Psycho Cuts doing nothing to this Dunsparce right now. In comes the first charge move. I know I survive it. Maybe I can make a catch, but even if I do, I need 2 charge moves to win this game, and I'm not even close to 1 right now. In comes the first charge move from this Dunsparce. They end up landing the rollout, or the drill run rather, and knocking me out here, and at this point, all I can do is throw the Ice Beam and just kind of BM them as much as I can at this point. I tried my best, but this team had no bulk whatsoever. Mewtwo, down any sort of advantage, is basically the worst Pokemon in the game, so I tried my best, but this is a bit of a terrible team. No offense to the people who suggested it, I suppose. Next game, we're going to see Shadow Catron is going to come back against a Malamar lead. Fantastic lead matchup here. In the backline, we have 2 things kind of weak to the Mud Boys or Mud Slappers in the backline. So it is going to be a little bit tricky if they have one of those in the back, but I do kind of have to stay in this lead. I have a Nidoqueen in the backline that really doesn't want to see this. Bastiadon does not want to take superpowers either. I have Trailblaze. These Sucker Punches are adding up so much. Trailblaze will knock them out if it goes unshielded. They end up shielding it up, which means I'm going to just shield myself a second time, farm them all the way down, and maybe having energy for whatever is about to come in. At this point, I'm hoping that we have play into the back line. We'll have to see what is going to come in here to neutralize our Catron. It looks like it's going to be a Dugong, a Pokemon that has a lot of fast food pressure against us, but also something I'm going to be very happy to have switch advantage for, because my Bastiodon is going to have a much better matchup into this than our Shadow Nidoqueen would. With that said, this might just be the team that I was using the other day with a Shadow Quagsire in the backline. If that is the case, this is probably an instant loss right now, because that Mudboy in the backline, as I was saying, one of the worst things we could see, there it is. This is actually the team that got me the legend here, taking me out. I guess I shouldn't have released the footage on that one, but GG's to them. All right, next game, Auroras against against the opposing Azumarill, that is. I save swap with our Lurantis here, and they answer it with a Clodsire. This is not a great matchup for us right now. I know that Leaf Blade comes close to 3-shotting, but it's not quite a 3-shot, and I also know that I don't really want to go down shields here, because as you can tell in the backline, I have a very interesting Pokemon, a Shadow Zapdos. I'm very happy to bait out this potential ground-type Pokemon, one of the best answers to our Shadow Zapdos. I'm hoping maybe they're ABA weak to our Zapdos in the back. Maybe it's going to be an Annihilate. Maybe it's going to be something else just weak to Electric. We'll have to see what it is. But at this point, I'm just going to sack these 2 Pokemon just to get rid of Clodsire and maybe invest everything that I have right now into that Zapdos. If they have fast food pressure, though, it's going to be the end of the world, even if it's a good matchup for me in the backline, because I know that Zapdos is one of the squishiest Pokemon out there, and any sort of fast food pressure could be catastrophic. I'm going to go for an undercharge here so I can get 2 extra Thunder Shocks right before the Sludge Bomb is going to be reached, and I can go for a Drill Peck against this Drifloon in the backline. They were ABA weak to electric type damage, but I think this is going to have way too much fast food pressure. I'm not going to be able to knock this thing out. They still have 2 shields left over. Astonished doing like 10% of my health every single time, probably even more than that. GG's to our opponent. Unfortunately, Shadow Zapdos not bulky enough to close that one out. Terrible lead this game. Shadow Quagsire up against our Shadow Steelix. What I do have access to is a Starmie in the backline that's going to be able to go for these Surfs here, potentially get a shield, maybe get a lot of damage against them, and they haven't swapped out yet, which means Shadow Starmie might have a lot of play in the backline. Opting to throw this next move, our opponent might go for a Stone Edge, might go for an Aqua Tail bait. They bait us with Aqua Tail, would do a lot less damage if I would have no-shielded that, but I'm still fine just kind of playing out this matchup because these Sideways, even if I don't land a charge move, are doing so much damage to them. They're going to shield up that Surf that I threw against them and throw a Stone Edge this time, which means that now I have a ton of energy on Starmie, and they swap into a Pokemon that is not even close to an answer to Starmie. I have Thunder ready to go here. This is going to do a catastrophic amount of damage to the Dugong, and now since I'm pretty sure that our Starmie's going to have some play in the backline with how they played it out, I'm going to catch the move here on our Steelix. It is going to be a drill run. It is super effective, but that Quagsire is chipped down into range where we can knock them out with Thunder Fang and maybe even Psychic Fangs here as long as they don't throw energy. And if they do throw energy, then it's going to be absolutely no threat for a backline. Psychic Fang is going to come through, not quite get the knockout here, but it will force them to throw a charge move if they want to take out our Shadow Steelix right now, which it looks like they are going to do. I have no idea what the final Pokemon is going to be. I know Starmie might have play into it with how they played out this game. Shadow Pidgeot will hope will have play in the backline as well. We have no shields, but a lot of energy. What is it going to be? It's actually going to be a Shadow Jumpluff. Our Pidgeot is in a fantastic matchup. Gust is super effective here. Aerial Ace is going to be the moveset that I'm using. If I had Feather Dance, this would be even better, but I didn't have the right moveset on our Pidgeot right now, which means that we won't be able to debuff the attack stat, but I will still be able to draw the shield. We have a Thunder loaded on Starmie, so as long as a catch doesn't happen, which at this point, it's not even going to be a possibility because the switch clocks are nowhere near close enough to line up for that, we can go for the Thunder, knock out this Jumpluff, and take the win with our Starmie just kind of unraveling this entire team here. Starmie, kind of one of my favorite Pokemon this season. It's a very underrated pick right now, a huge core breaker, and honestly, its damage output, its coverage, it's kind of crazy. It came through in that game, as you can see. Next matchup, Oranguru up against Shadow for Alligator, a very tricky Pokemon to see, but we have access to Trailblaze, we have access to Brutal Swing as well if we want to bait, and we resist Shadow Claws. Hydro Cannon still will do a massive amount of damage here, and since we are using a 4-turn move, this Pokemon is a little bit clunky to try to take advantage of. I wait a turn to see what's going to happen. The visuals do not update, which means that the catch is going to come in from our opponent. Looks like on a Quagsire, which is a little bit tricky, but the best thing about this is we can go for Confusion, so we've boosted our attack stat, and since this is a poison type, they really don't want to take this damage. As you can see in my backline, a bit of an interesting backline there. I have a Lantern and a Milotic. I got the Brutal Swing off on CMP as well, which means that maybe I can Water Gun this all the way down with our Lantern. I'm not using Spark. I think Spark is a bad moveset right now, but Water Gun, if I can get this thing all the way down before Sludge Bomb's reached, it's going to be fantastic, but 1 HP survived by this Quagsire, allowing them to reach another charge move, chip down our Lantern just a little bit more, and now we're going to be in a bit of an awkward spot. They actually end up hard swapping here to Shadow for Alligator. I'm going to throw the Surf, try to get them to either shield or get them knockout against them before they can reach a Hydro Cannon, but not quite. Surf isn't that strong of a move, and since Shadow Gator is resisting that damage, they do end up surviving. I'm going to shield at this point. I don't want to rely solely on a Milotic to win this game. I like Milotic as much as the next guy, but I don't think it's going to be able to sweep a game right now, so I'm going to try my best to use my Lantern and Milotic in combination to win against the backline. It looks like the final Pokemon in this game is going to be a Pangoro, a Pokemon that can put in a lot of work up energy right now. Water Gun chip damage is going to add up here. I think at this point, the way I'm going to win this game is just purely through fast food pressure. Probably going to be a Night Slash coming through right now. I know Night Slash is a chance to boost their attack every time they throw it, but luckily for us, no boost on that first one, and now our opponent sees our final Pokemon. How do they want to play this out? They throw a move pretty early. This could be a close combat. They could reset their defense drop if they want to, but they opt to go for a Night Slash bait. We call it properly here, and now they have to build it back-to-back charge moves. They get it right now, but the thing is, by the time they got it, they were too low. Even if they would have thrown it, Dragon Tail would have been enough to knock them out. GG's to our opponent. Next game, a terrible lead matchup for us. Actually, like one of the worst leads we could see. I don't know if you're seeing that in the back, but we have a Barbaracle and a Trevenant. A very crazy team. Altaria is a Pokemon that obviously in the previous seasons has been pretty good. Same with Trevenant, but Barbaracle, are you kidding me? That Pokemon's never been good for anything. With that said, the Sky Attack has chipped down this Dunsparce quite a bit. Rock Slide will do a lot of damage, but they will need a second one here if they want to knock out our Altaria. So we'll see what they want to do. Looks like they don't want to take too much more fast food pressure. They're going to throw the move immediately, and I guess this is what Barbaracle is going to be useful for. It is actually remarkably quick to get into charge moves because Fury Cutter plus Cross Chop only takes 9 fast moves to reach, and this is super effective damage. It probably will knock out the Dunsparce. Hopefully this is going to be the one answer that they have to our Trevenant in the backline. We'll have to see what is going to come in. Okay, well, it's a Wigglytuff. If we can't land a Stone Edge here, we are in so much trouble. They resist our fast moves. I just have to hope that they let this go and that I can get massive damage here. If not, Wigglytuff is about to sweep me. They shield it up. What am I supposed to do against a Wigglytuff in the back, man? GG's to them. All right, next game, Zapdos, Galarian Zapdos, I should say, in the lead up against a Shadow Drapion. This Pokemon is a very interesting matchup to have. I know that fighting type damage is neutral against Shadow Drapion. I also am not going to get knocked out by a single Aqua Tail. Zapdos isn't necessarily squishy, but it's not really bulky either, but we can tank that move, go for a close combat, get either a guaranteed knockout or just a shield from them right now. Close combat, what are they going to do? They end up letting it go, and now what's the final Pokemon going to be, or the backline rather? It's going to be at least one of the two Pokemon is a Shadow for Alligator, a Pokemon that we can resist with our Shadow Claw damage, or with our normal typing with their Shadow Claw damage. Hydro Cannon getting the first shield here, and now in comes an Azumarill. This is going to be an interesting game, but I have a B-Barrel in the backline that is one of the best answers to that for Alligator, so I think I'm in a pretty good spot right now. I'm going to go for the annoying play. I go for the debuff, and at this point, they no-shielded that. I might be able to just charm everything down right now. If this is an Ice Beam, I know for a fact I survive it. I can survive the bubbles afterwards. I might even be able to just shield up one more time, tap my phone screen until this Azumarill goes down, and then even debuff that Gator later on. This is stupid. I hate Wigglytuff. It's one of my least favorite Pokemon in the game, but you can't deny what it's doing right now. Just took out the Azu. It's going to put in so much work against this Gator as well. Probably get both shields, and of course, why not? Let's go for the debuff again. I know I can reach an Icy Wind and a Swift before they can even come close to fast moving me down, and by the time that I get this move, I can swap out to my B-Barrel and make it so B-Barrel can close out this game, not even losing a single Pokemon this match. The good thing is they're also debuffed, but there's no move aside from Crunch that they could throw that would be anything less than resisted damage. Crunch is not a common move. Ice Beam is going to be thrown from our opponent, realizing that this game is over. They just try to BM us a little bit. GG's to them. Next matchup, what are we going to see? Abomasnow into Diggersby. Okay, you might expect the Ice and Grass-type Pokemon to be good into the Ground-type, but they recently buffed Fire Punch, and they outpace us because I'm running Icy Wind here. With that said, I can shield this, go for the Icy Wind debuff to potentially make them not one-shot us with a Fire-type move, which could be good right now, but this is such an awkward situation. I have to go down shields if I want to win against a Ground-type. That's why Abomasnow is not exactly my favorite Pokemon to use, but we are going to try our best to neutralize this because I have two Electric types in the backline that do not want anything to do with this. In comes the next charge move here, likely a Fire Punch. It does a lot, but because of that debuff, we do end up surviving, and we can overfarm right until they reach their next one and throw this move on the last second. If they want to shield this up, they can be my guest. I'm just fine neutralizing this as much as I have, and they do end up letting it go. In comes a Shadow for Alligator. I don't want to give this thing too much farm. My backline is very good into this. I'm going to go for the Icy Wind and safe swap into my Hisuian Electrode. This Pokemon is not a common Pokemon to see in GBL. Our opponent, though, for some reason, they're throwing the Hydro Cannon, maybe expecting this to not be resisted, but it's resisted and debuffed, which means it does almost nothing to us right now. And in comes the final Pokemon, an Annihilate. This is not looking good. We have a Morpeko in the backline. We are actually ABA weak to counter. Our Hisuian Electrode is somehow our best answer to it, but after that chip damage, we are in a very bad spot because I know that we are going to be countered all the way down, but that might have been a CMP. We got a shield with a Swift, and maybe if that was a CMP on the Wild Charge there could still be a chance for us right now. No, our opponent does have a bit of energy. They are boosted with their attack stat right now. Counter is going to add up quite a bit, but I'm going to be able to outpace them before they can get to another charge move here, and as long as they don't catch on their Feraligatr, we should be able to win this game. They're 5 Shadow Claws away from a move. If I see them come in, I can overfarm here, go for a Psychic Fangs at the last second, make sure I knock them out, and then I should be able to reach the Aura Wheel against that Annihilate, that's what was in the backline. Annihilate should not be able to survive this move. It's one of the strongest moves in the game. It should be enough to KO, and Morpeko in the backline, able to pick up the backline sweep. GG's to them. Alright, next game here, a Snorlax in the lead up against a Shadow Drapion. This is a very bad matchup for our entire team. We don't want a Poison type against our Fairies in the backline. We don't want this thing to be resisting our Licks, but it is right now. I'm just going to try to neutralize this as much as I can. Snorlax with its Cowboy Hat going to try its best to throw the superpower here. This is going to do a lot of damage if it goes through the shield, but not quite enough to knock out. They do opt to let it go, which is good damage to get, but our opponent is very good on their counts and their timing here, going for the Aqua Tail at the last second. This is not looking good right now because I know I can go for a Charm Down, but they might be able to reach an Aqua Tail against our Shadow Alolan Ninetales before we're able to fast boot them down. This is not looking good. Aqua Tail does almost half of our health, and now as long as the backline's weak to us, we might be in a good spot, but a Diggersby is such a nuisance to see right now. I try to catch the Fire Punch on our Mr. Mime, but this is not looking great because they end up over-farming here, and I'm going to shield up the Scorching Sands. In comes, I guess it's a Fire Punch bait. That's not great for us. In the back, another Ground-type Pokemon. Man, if we had Powder Snow on our Ninetales, we would be in a much better spot right now, but having Charm is putting us in a bit of a hole. We're going to try to go for Psychics, get shields down from this Marowak. Maybe there's a chance for us this game, but I don't think there's really any chance. It's not Mime time this time. Mr. Mime is going to come through, get another Psychic through, potentially get a shield from them, but I don't think they're going to shield, honestly, at this point. They can just invest in their Diggersby, take us out with Fire Punches and Quick Attacks, and just kind of embarrass us. Our two Fairy types in the back, not even going to be able to take the win. Even if they didn't have this shield here, Weather Ball would not be enough to knock out. Our opponent just opts to shield it up anyway and take the game there. GG's to them. Next matchup, what are we going to see? Froslass up against a Shadow Drapion. Terrible lead here, but I'm going to try our best, maybe catch a crunch on our Eradicate. If that's a possibility, we're going to go for it, but our opponent opting to overfarm very smartly here, and then they come in with a Azumarill. Azumarill and Drapion, very spicy team from our opponent right now. I'm going to try to flip this matchup. You might be wondering if that's even possible, but yeah, Eradicate, especially up energy, and using Hyper Fang can win the 2-shield matchup against Azumarill as long as they don't bait you with Ice Beams. If you can shield up the play rough properly or even call an Ice Beam bait, you're in a pretty good spot here. They end up shielding before we even do, which means that this is looking good for us right now. I'm going to shield this attack. I know at this point that a play rough would almost one-shot us here, put us into bubble down range, and I do want to flip switch advantage. I have a Bastiadon in the back. I'm not super proud of it, but I do have one there. Maybe Basti can absorb the damage from that Drapion, and hopefully the final Pokemon in this game is going to be somewhat weak to our Froslass. They do end up no-shielding that next Hyper Fang. I can now shield Quick Attack all the way down against the Fairy-type Pokemon. A Dark-type taking out a Fairy-type. Love to see it. And now what are they going to bring on? I'm hoping to see that Drapion here, but if it's not, it might be tricky depending on what the final Pokemon is going to be. Our opponent taking their time to think about what they want to do, they opt to bring in a Diggersby. Not a very spicy team from our opponent here, but it does make a lot of sense. I'm going to go for Crunch, maybe get a defense drop here, chip them down as much as I can to make it so maybe our Froslass doesn't need to land as much damage against them, maybe even put them into range where a Flamethrower from our Bastiodon could win us this match. I'm going to go for a Hyper Fang this time. I'm not going to reach another charge move. I know they're not going to let us here, so I might as well go for the move that's going to do a little bit more raw damage here. They're going to throw a charge attack. I survive a Fire Punch, but I expect a Scorching Sands to be thrown by our opponent right now. And this is going to be a very tricky thing. I know they have a Crunch. I'm going to swap Catch the Crunch on our Bastiodon before they're able to snipe down our Froslass here. And now Basti has a lot of work to do. Our opponent, of course, gets yet another Crunch debuff here. That's not what you want to see, but I think that it doesn't really matter. It's going to take 2 or 3 more Aqua Tails here to knock us out anyway. It's going to put us closer, though, into range where a Fire Punch from a Diggersby could knock out our Basti. With that said, these Smackdowns are adding up over time. I have almost a full-on Avalanche on our Froslass. If we can bank enough energy to snipe down that Diggersby, you might have a chance this game. Stone Edge is going to come through. Is this going to be enough to get the knockout? It should be from this range, but our opponent actually opts to shield that, and they come in Diggersby here. They were probably expecting a combo play with my Froslass, but I don't even know if calling that combo play is going to win us the game right now, because I know that our Froslass is going to take super effective damage from these Fire Punches. It's going to do so much damage to us right now. I end up getting denied here by the 1-turn lag on entry, and now I know as long as they reach another Fire Punch before we can have 2 Avalanches, they have me. That's so unfortunate. GG's to our opponent, though. They played that one very well. I tried my best to dance around here, but Diggersby just a little bit too broken with the Fire Punch buff this season. It was a very fun day of sets. I didn't win as many battles as I would have liked, but honestly, the reason I do this is not to win, it's to have fun, see what we can do with crazier Pokemon, as you were able to see in this video. A lot of interesting picks that you might not expect to have play, end up having play if you can play them right, and if you can try to dance around your opponent when they're not expecting them. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. I stream my battles live basically every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, where you can see live insights into my gameplay and see my teams early. I'd love to see you there. The link to that is in the description. And also, if you want to see more videos like this on the channel, please make sure to subscribe. I'm going to be uploading a lot more, and I'd love to see you in future videos. Thanks again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.